Bonjour, bonjour, comment allez-vous? And je vais très bien. Welcome to We Talk. All right, for everybody who are new, we're glad to have you. But we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. Let me go ahead and bring my co-host on because they've been waiting while I've been playing. So let me bring my co-host on. Y'all hold on. Okay. Hey, Miss O'Neill.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Let me see. Can I get Keith on in here?
I am good.
You are good?
A little bit, yeah.
All right. All right. Hey, Keith, I don't know how I'm going to bring you on, bro. Let me try it. Let me try it over here. All right. Well, I'm trying to bring Keith on. You might have to tell him what you did.
I just pressed the button at the bottom that says it's two people. It says request on there, and then you can see
Well, I
it.
see his picture, but I'm hitting the invite. I've invited him, so I don't know what's going on.
Technology.
Oh yeah. But anyway, I'm glad you're good, Miss O'Neill. As you know, for everybody who's new, this is Grown and Sexy. So the first thing that we do, we have our drinks ready. So whatever it is, here's to everybody on the line. I don't
Yeah.
see you, Miss O'Neill. You got your drink up?
Yeah, but I'm trying. Oh, that's why you can't see me.
Oh Lord have
Yeah,
mercy.
now I figured out. I look. Yeah, I got my little.
All right.
I got my little mixed pleasure together.
I thought I heard Keith. I don't know what it is with Keith, but I invited him. So I don't know. It says 5 new messages. So,
Let's
hey,
see.
Keith, you might have to go out and come back in, brother, or something.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah, I'm good today. It's been different. It's been
Hey,
different.
what about this weather though? telling you, this weather
That's
is something else.
that's one aspect of it. I had a migraine headache from hell, and I
Oh,
just can't get. I don't know what. It's not a cold because I, checked, went to the doctor. It's not COVID, so they're saying it's just onset allergies, and I had my pump, my head hurt, everything. But
really?
I'm up and functioning right now.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that you're doing okay
Hmm.
because I know how that can be.
Oh
Trust
yeah,
me.
we gotta figure that out. I think we're gonna have a rough, well, not a rough year. I think this year in terms of weather, um, and with everything going on, the universe be feeling stuff when things be going on. This has been the weirdest year with the weather I've ever seen. In January we had fire on one side and ice on the other, and now
Hey,
here we are with
I
this.
don't
So
want to get into prophecies, but it said the last days, but we ain't gonna
yeah,
talk
so,
about
so here we go with that.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we're gonna be all right though, I think. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right, but anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I don't know what Keith has to do to come in, but I see him there, and I sent him an invite, and I just canceled it again. So, Keith, you might have to go out, and come back in. But anyway, for all of you all who missed us last week, we had a very good week last week. I think we did numbers over here. As some of you may not know, we started with Facebook and we got a big following over there. But we decided to come to TikTok because there's a lot more user friendly, and we can actually interact with each other. And we weren't able to do that over at Facebook. But
After
anyway,
some time.
huh?
After some time, it just changed. Now when we started back a few years ago, we could, but now it's
Right,
different.
right. But anyway, I'm gonna encourage everybody because we finna get hot and heavy with this discussion. I want y'all to go ahead and wet your throats with your drink as I'm doing, because it's gonna help you digest some of this information that we are about to give out. So last week we talked about whether or not trust was necessary in a relationship, particularly today, uh, or how important trust was. Now, you'd be surprised how many people, and I gave an example of a young lady that I talked to prior to the live, and she indicated that as long as they're taking care of the bills, as, as long as they're taking care of her, she don't care about trust. Trust is not necessary. I find that hard to believe, but because as we discussed, trust is the foundation for any relationship, whether or not it's platonic, romantic, or whatever. All right. Do you want to talk about it a little bit, Miss O'Neill?
Trust from last week. Oh, y'all know I was
Yeah.
saying who and no, and I'm not sharing. Yes, it's important. I got my frying pans ready. I don't play about that. Mm-mm.
They don't know about the frying pans.
Oh
Miss-
well, if you decide to be on the other side and not and deal and make me lose my trust, I got all three size frying pans ready for each situation. We not having it. We
The
not
cast
having
iron ones, right?
and no, the black ones.
Cast iron, that's what they
Yes,
are.
that I know,
What your
but I'm just gonna
grandmother used
say,
to
look,
cook with.
no, they got silver now. They got other cut. They got silver now, but the ones we know about, the black ones, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I don't
Okay.
play. Yeah, we ready though. We ready. We ain't gonna go back there. Y'all get me hot again.
Well, we don't want to get you high. We definitely don't want to get you high because we know how you can get. Well, at least I know how you can get. I don't know about the people on our line. But
Yeah,
she's a
nah.
firecracker when you get her wrong.
We ain't
But
gonna talk about that part.
but anyway, hey Keith, I got the invite extended to you. It says that you need to accept. So I don't know what's happening on your end. But we're gonna go ahead and get on with our discussion. Now look, before we get into this week's discussion, this is not a white or black issue. Let me give you the topic. Our discussion tonight is white supremacy, right?
Right.
And that question is what makes white supremacists think that they're superior than any other race? There has to be a reason for that, right? Otherwise, I think everybody would have the same mentality as all people being equal. But when we have these far right groups, they seem to think that they're superior based on certain factors. So we're going to talk about those factors tonight. All right. Now, let me put my disclaimer out there. These are our opinions based on our experience and the research that we've done. And we do extensive research before we come on. Trust and believe that. So we want to know, at least I want to know, what do you think makes white supremacists think that they are superior than other cultures? I mean, because, I've been on the planet for over half a century, and to my knowledge, there's been no evidence presented or demonstrated throughout history that supports that they are superior. Now, maybe y'all may know something, and that's the reason for the discussion. Hopefully, you all can enlighten me. But we're going to give you our perspective and what we found through our research. Now, and listen, let me say this. Just because you love your people, in this case, just because you love black people, it doesn't mean that you hate white people. So that's a misconception. A lot of people, when they see you standing up or you kind of being proud of who you are, they look at it as it being aggressive and extreme. So there's nothing wrong with you loving your people, and you don't have to hate any other culture. So let's make that statement and let's get that understanding from the beginning. Because this is not a hate group. This is not going to be something to bash anyone. We want to discuss the groups and bring some clarity as to why they feel they are superior. Because they do. And we're only speaking to those who have a belief in white supremacy. We're not talking about all people. So we're not just putting everybody into one pigeonhole, okay? So let's get that right. Now, okay.
I don't think I wasn't prepared for this. I ain't know you done shocked me with this one because
Oh yeah. Well,
I don't know what we're talking about.
Hey,
before
that makes the best discussions though when you don't prepare. I don't like to prepare because I like it raw, and that way you get your true feelings. If you really want to find out how someone feels, you really put them in a position where there are no alibis, there's no alternatives. They have to give you their feelings and what they feel is true. Now, for this discussion, I want to focus on physical attributes, physical ability, intelligence, ingenuity, and talent. Because on the outward appearance, if I believe that I'm superior, then I would have to be superior in these categories, some kind of way. At least that's my feelings. Now, which of these are shown in white supremacy? Physical attributes, physical beauty, physical ability, intelligence, ingenuity. Has any of those things been deemed superior for white supremacists? I'll give y'all a moment to think about it. I'm going to say no. Now, let's start with the biblical context. Let's start with the data that's in the Bible. And we're not going to get into a holy moly conversation about it. We're just going to point out certain things. we have to remember, and I want y'all to remember this, the truth of anyone's history is not in the history itself, it's in the power of the individual with the pen. Let me say that again. The truth of anyone's history, and I'm saying this for a reason, is not in the history itself. It's in the power of the individual who has the pen. In other words, whoever records it, they have the power. That history is going to be recorded from their perspective. Now, if they're God-fearing and they're fair and they're honest individual, then we're going to get what truly represents the truth. But as we all know, we live in a sinful world and there is a lot of evil. So everybody is not going to be truthful.
Well,
Some people,
we all know that when you start talking about being truthful and bringing the truth out, that releases some power, or the power that is given, based on what they've drawn conclusions from. And most of the time, when we talk about recording of history and who's recording the history, they want it to lean toward um, what they want you to believe in. That's why, we have to do the research, and we have to really think about the things that we're given, so we won't have so many misconceptions or whatever.
absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Now, sometimes, an individual, whatever their preferences are, or whatever their goal is, history can be manipulated, right? We
Right.
know that to be true. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean that it's intentional, uh, but we know that that is the case in a lot of the history that has been recorded. Now, one example is, why would we look into our Bible, the Holy Grail, what we all base our religion and spirituality on? And the Bible clearly describes Jesus a certain kind of way. And I'm just using this as an example. They describe him as having woolly hair and the skin of the color of bronze, right? And I'm not just saying this because my skin is similar to that. I'm saying that's what is recorded in the Bible. So why in your grandmother's house, your mother's house, when we all grew up, that picture looked totally different? The picture was what? White, straight hair, blonde hair, and blue eyes. So that's just one example. Now, why it was recorded that way or why it was depicted that way, we all have our ideas as to why. But we really won't know the truth because we weren't there. But we know that that has to be a manipulation of truth if it's described a certain kind of way and then presented another way. So we all know that.
I
It's
think
clear.
I think to a degree, not to cut you off. Sorry, that I would mean to do that, but I think to a degree, when I have to go back and think about things like that, and I think about it over and over and over, I think about how long were we considered non-existent, or how long did was it not known that other things or other races existed other than um, that which is told to be superior in history?
Right.
I have to think about that, and then I think about the things that they had to make them feel superior or to make them seem superior. We didn't have, I ain't gonna say the technology, but we didn't have a lot of the tools that they had in the way that they had. So that in itself
I mean, we
made
didn't
them.
have access to them.
Yeah,
They were there. Right.
but yeah, that's what I mean.
Right.
So we weren't given access to those things. And when we touched on this once before, we didn't have the type of when they come to taking power, we didn't have the type of weaponry, we didn't have, the type of things that they had, or it wasn't available to us, or whatever the word is you want to use, so
Right.
then that made it again, that put another caveat in there. So when people want to maintain power over you, they don't give you access to a lot of things. Access denied means no power, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
So, I mean,
Absolutely.
a lot of people, and when you talk about things like this, they'll say, well, why does this matter? Why does it matter why does it matter about what color things are, what color Jesus is, or what color? It matters because the truth is the truth is the truth. We always want to talk about what's factual, what's true, what's real. But then when it comes to certain things, the truth is taboo. And we got to get away from that in today's society, especially as we're talking about things coming to pass, and chickens coming home to roost, and things like that. If you pay attention to history, if you listen, if you go back, all of those sayings and all of those things, they're coming to pass at this point. Does it make people afraid? Does it take some power away right now? Oh yes, it most certainly does. But
Yeah,
I'm
well,
getting.
I'm going to say this. I believe a lot of the ideas, ideologies that is used in white supremacy is based on the fact that they have the ability to amass resources.
Yes.
I think that's the main reason. And number two is this: it's a big misconception. As I said earlier, just because you stand for your culture, in this case, if you stand with and support black people, it does not mean that you hate white people. Most people are logical. So if you treat them fairly, then they treat you fair. But when here's where a lot of the misconception comes in, because there's been a lot of aggression, there's been a lot of atrocious things done to black people, right? So the misconception is when we have leaders such as, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, Malcolm X, and Marcus Garvey, and others who speak aggressively, most people will view that as being threatening. Most people see that as a threat. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's their intent. Just because they speak that way doesn't mean that they are violent or aggressive, but it gives the undertone of violence. And that is totally untrue. Just because you fight a bully, if you fight it back, that doesn't mean you're violent. It simply means you won't allow anyone to take advantage of you. And if you notice, I didn't mention Martin Luther King. And he was one of our great leaders, and I believe that he was.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you now. Here I go now. Okay, y'all. Now,
What?
uh,
Whatness on there?
I'm just gonna say now, first giving honor to Martin Luther and his his um his teaching, but you know, sometimes a little force is necessary, because when you go into things in the way that he was, a preaching of nonviolence or non-aggression, I'll just leave it at that. It really didn't work, because some people don't hear that. I ain't gonna say sometimes. No time do people hear the idea of non-aggression or aggression or not being assertive. And so I think that when we start talking about this type of stuff in history, people get the aggression and assertiveness mixed up. Because Brother Malcolm, had a saying, by any means necessary. That means you need to change with the circumstance. It means you need to
Right.
change with the circumstance and make people understand who you are, what you are, and what you're about, by your force, or by your aggression, or by your changed behavior. We cannot continue to want things to happen if we keep our behavior the same. How long did that part of the civil rights movement last? And we had been sprayed with water, beaten, all these other things. Now, and then so you get to a point where you gotta get a little bit rougher. You gotta be a little bit more assertive and a little bit more aggressive with things. So I can't always say that I agree with not being what is it, wanting to be heard and making yourself heard. Sometimes being loud don't get you heard. In his case, he felt like that's what worked. But then when you keep getting beat, and you keep getting all these things happen, because it's proven throughout history. Now I'm about to go here with y'all. Now, yes, there are other people, other races, other cultures that have gone through things, but we have been going through things since the beginning of time, because of who we were, because we were the chosen people. Jews were not white. Jews were black. If you want to really go all the way back there, and we have always relied on the universe, the earth, or whatever, for the resources that we were given. We have made advancements in all things created by any other creed, color, or race. We have built on those things. So I have to go back, way back to the way back. We were the beginning. Everything is derived from what is black.
All right. So that may be some of the reason
Yeah,
why uh, they're perceived as being threatening.
that part.
Right. Let me add this a little bit. I saw something earlier today where it says a friend of mine sent me uh, something from TikTok, or either what's the other one, YouTube, and what it said was that, why are the things that we're born into, why do we have a cause for 'em? If you were born into the world, the air, the water, shelter, food, all those basic essentials, we're entitled to them. So why do we have to pay for water? Why do we have to pay for shelter? Why do we have to pay so much for food? All right, and let me tell you what it says. It said the reason that we are in this situation is because we're in a cage. And that cage is governed by your government and all the people in power, powerful corporations. Because there's more than enough food. Nobody should be starving on this planet. There's more than enough food on this planet to feed everybody 100 times over. There's more than enough water. 3/4 of the water covers the earth, and it rains.
You know why?
Why did Georgia tell us, please?
Because we have the knowledge of, and things like that. A lot of people don't have the knowledge of, and of those things, of those facts, because we don't, they just don't. And two, most of the people that have the knowledge of it don't have the wisdom to apply the concepts, in order for everybody to get those things, for those things to actually be what they are, the natural resources. It's a natural resource, you know.
Absolutely.
So that's the whole thing. That's the whole everything in a gist, I believe, for me,
All right.
with that.
All right. Well, let me tell you why I didn't mention Martin Luther King earlier. And again, he was a great one of our greatest leaders. I didn't mention him because his idea of nonviolence was non-threatening. So when he came along with his teaching, it removed the threat of violence.
Yeah.
Now, that's how it was from the beginning. it was acceptable, at least until the power of his voice was felt. If you remember that Million Man March, whatever it was,
March on
uh,
Washington.
huh?
The March on Washington, I believe.
Yeah, that changed things
Yeah.
because the government started looking at him as being a threat. I remember I saw the documentary where he said someone, I think it was an FBI agent, said that was too much power for one man.
Now
Now,
that was for Malcolm. That was for Brother Malcolm.
it was for Martin too.
I ain't know about that. I mean, you know what? And I mean, we see the difference in who they were, their leadership skills, and we need all of these things to actually, I don't know, take hold of what's going on, or what happens in society. But I think if it, like you said, I think if it's used interchangeably rather than you be one way, because if you one way for too long, it take a whole lot for people to listen. You know what I mean? When you be one way for too long, you got to be ready to switch it up. Put them gloves on and stuff, and
Well,
the
I tell you what,
right, yeah.
I don't knock anybody's communication style or their skills, but a lot of time when you hear people shouting at you, that's not my particular style. But when you hear
No.
people shouting, and when you hear a loud inflection of the voice, it becomes very threatening. So I don't even like it sometimes. So I can understand why that was, but now, Barack Obama, he was accepted easily. And we're not talking about the current administration. We're talking about for the masses. And that's because he was very articulate. He was non threatening, but at least he had a leadership style that spoke to all people. So that's why he was not conceived as being a threat. Listen, his demeanor and style and temperament was ideal. But we aren't going to talk about that. That's a whole new different discussion. And we also have to remember when you treat people badly, and most often inhumanely, there's always a fear of retaliation. That's the fear. There's always a fear of retaliation, a fear that you might be treated the same way you treated those people. That has a lot to do with why white supremacists feel the way they do. I think it's one of those feelings of guilt where things they know were done unfairly and unjustly. So that's what creates this false sense and unjust need to justify the existence of white supremacy. It's all rooted in fear. I'm not going to say all, but a majority of it is rooted in fear. All right? Now, but what is that? What is it that truly makes white supremacists superior? And so everyone is clear. It also, at that time, the rules and the system did not include all white people. And it still doesn't. It excluded poor and average white people as well as black people. Now, even though they still have privilege because of the color of their skin, they are not included in the system that dominates the majority of people, particularly disadvantaged people in the United States. Now, it is only one thing that gives white supremacists power. It's only one thing. It's not the attributes that I mentioned earlier, the power and the strength, the physique, the intelligence, the ingenuity, the beauty. It's none of that.
I mean, people come up with laws and stuff, a lot of the rules and regulations right now don't fit um
What'd you
other
say?
people. A lot of the rules, like a lot of the laws that we have, like they don't really fit people that are at a disadvantage, and they
Absolutely. It was
um
designed that way.
like these programs and stuff that we have, like the food stamps to this and Section 8 and all of these other things. They say, like, as we talked about before, it's for you and it'll help you and it's for enhancement of your life. But it's really not. They know all your information from the rooter to the tutor. They know where you work, how much you make. If you make another dollar, they take it away. When you talk about systematic racism, it is. And a lot of people, like you say, they think about racism as just against, the black culture, and all of these things are just against, us. And
Well,
most of them do
well, look, I keep telling people this, that the
everybody.
people in power know things about you as a black person that you don't even know about yourself. Because remember when I was saying to you that history is not in the history itself, the history is in the power that the individual has with the pen. So a lot of information about yourself, which taught self hate, which taught you that you were less than, a lot of the information that proves otherwise has been hidden and we're not even aware of it. But let me get back to the point. The point is the one thing that makes them superior is a system. The system that we live in. And it's not only in America, it's throughout the world. There's a system of systematic racism that white supremacists, they protect and they designed it. Now, when you speak of white supremacists, most people think of somebody in the backwoods with a shotgun riding around with a Confederate flag with a shotgun rack on their trucks. No, that might be a segment, but that segment of people are not the white supremacists that control the system. That system is one of injustice, the one that enslaved people, the one that stripped black and brown people of their resources and their wealth. A system that allowed for rape, murder, the mutilation of other people. One that allowed for the killings of the fathers, the separation of children, to break up their families legally. That was forceful separation, where they would come and take the children away from the home, or take the husband out and drag him out in the woods, hang him and kill him. Those are the facts. That's not what I'm just making up. Those are facts. Now, we've all gotten so far removed from those things, and I'm not saying that it's necessary to start a coup or get a call to war. I'm saying that we've gotten so far removed from those things that we become immune to the damage that is caused. And this is not just our opinion. Since we're so far removed, those notorious acts of violence and the impact and the importance has diminished. The damage is overlooked and underrepresented. Now, all you got to do, if you don't believe me, and again, we're not talking about all people. We're talking about a small segment of people that control the system, the same group of people who allowed those atrocious and inhumane acts to happen to other people. We're talking about that particular group of people. All you got to do is Google it. All you got to do, you got to chat GPT, which my son put me on game, and I love it. So I haven't been to Google in quite a
They,
while.
you know what? They don't talk about. They talk about the glitz and glitter of, our history. They talk about the glitz and glitter of a lot of things. They will not even touch on anymore the gritty, dirty things. Um, and as we know they're trying to erase history. And when we talk about the power of the pen, one thing about history is you can't erase it. You can try to ignore it, but it's still there, and somebody know about it. If it ain't somebody put 2-3 doors down. And I think that people have been so used to trying to put a band-aid on things and erase things. And because now we have the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, all of these things. And mind you, the Constitution was written by those people, but because we have that, sometimes people consider that as a stand-in for things that have happened, or a way to ignore things that have happened. You cannot ignore, this demolishment or diminishing of a whole people. And it happened way back when, and it's gonna continue to happen. One, because a lot of people are afraid to make a change in who they are and to take the power back, and they are just they don't know the power of them together. We don't know the power of us together. And
Yeah.
until that happens, and until we accept, what's going on. If you don't accept what somebody's done to you and things like that, then it's never going to be fixed. So once you accept it, then you can fix it. Once people look at retaliation as a bad thing, but guess what? Retaliation is just realization of what really went on or what's going on.
Well, the thing
So
is, I think in order to fix it, the individuals or the oppressors, they have to admit and they have to seek change and make restitution or do something differently. Because you can accept it all day long, but again, if you're living in a system where that system is not designed to help you prosper, and keep in mind the same system that was built is built on the wealth that you built or that you were entitled to. So it's no more is nothing different than a thief. So that system, until that system is changed, and the people who are in power acknowledge there was some wrongdoing. And I'm not saying that everybody should be given, 10 million, $20 million. Because even if you do that, until you train people and teach people and educate people how to use money, the cause will be ineffective. If they learn and if they're taught how to use money, and to use it in a system that was not designed for them, or allow them to design their own systems, then things will change. Until that happens, nothing's going to change. But
and we got to stop being so dependent on it, though. So many of us are dependent on the system, as we're talking about. We're afraid
we
not.
don't have a choice.
I know that's what I was going to say. We're afraid not to depend on it, because what choice do we? I was just, you took the words out of my mouth. What choice do we really have? If we let go of the food stamps and we get us a good $1 million job like they got, just because we have $1 million job, they assume we don't need this, we don't need that. different things like that. But there are people with $1 million jobs that still go to the thrift store. It's still people with $1 million jobs that go shopping and only use the orange tags at Kroger. You know, the ones you buy is gonna expire tomorrow because you know
Right, right.
you don't have, and then the system and everything is set up to keep you down, because every time you get a little bit of dollar, they raise the rent, they raise the things you need. So
But but
that's just
I
ways to keep
think
you there.
the most important thing to realize is that the system was never designed for you. So listen, I'm
Right.
saying it like this because a lot of people get it twisted. If I amend a rule, or if I have a law and I make an amendment to that, it still does not change the law.
No.
It gives you a false sense of inclusion. So if they make a law and they amend it, then that means that, okay, I'm giving consideration. The way to change the law is to throw it out completely and revise it from the beginning. That's how you do it. There's no amending saying, okay, now you can stand on the corner of the street. Now you can ride the bus. No, you have to take that entire law and you have to do away with that and redesign it so that it's all inclusive and equal and fair. So again, let's talk about all of these horrendous acts that were formed, that were done to people. Now, these are people. See, and that's why I say we are far removed, because we don't look at it with the severity of how it impacted your life even today. When your family, your ancestors, their homes were destroyed. Wall Street, Black Wall Street, it was burnt down.
Lake Lanier.
Lake, Lake Lanier, the
I'm
same
being
thing.
serious. Lake Lanier,
Oh yeah, I know. So and the thing is, you have to
Rosewood.
remember that when you have that kind of trauma in your life, whether or not you are directly affected, you still feel it from the state of deprivation where you're not included and where you feel that things that you deserve more than what you have. Now, again, all you got to do is Google it. Putting people, grown men between horses to split them. Putting women in a pot of boiling water while they are alive. Cutting a woman's stomach open and taking the baby out.
I mean, just to hear those things, even though, like I said, we've seen them many times, um, with so many depictions, different depictions, as I said, like Rosewood and stuff like that. Just to hear that happen too. Um,
If that doesn't strike a chord, then
it just
something's
make it
wrong.
just makes me just whatever. I can't even like put it in words. So to know that someone would do that, or even to know that those things still exist today, not just the George Floyds and Trayvon Martins and Sandra Bland's, and just to say their names, just to say a few, it still exists today, and it's so bad because all everything designed, the system and everything, the way that it's designed, sometimes we don't even realize how much we may do it to one another. We may continue to add trauma, to one another. And so they count on this. They count people. The system counts on us having so much commiseration and bad things go on between us to deflect what's really going on. And I wish that people would just see that all the things that's caused happening and things like that are just a way for us to be to turn away from what's going on, to put our attention somewhere else. And until we realize we got to stay focused and be woke, as people say, I mean, it's not going to change at all in any way.
Well, listen, people will distract you to keep you from looking under the covers, right? So when other things are happening, you have to be
But you
smart enough
stay under the
to
cover.
know huh?
You stay under the cover.
Oh yeah, they don't want you to look under the cover. You might find some.
Oh, okay.
So all all of these people, they do that. They distract you so that you don't pay attention to it. Can you imagine if enough people actually pay attention to that stuff?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Right now it's unimaginable because the sad thing is they bank on that we're not. What about if you do? Just like if you watch the Equalizer, the little boy wanted the young man wanted to know why save me, and so Denzel came back and say, why not you? And he said, yeah, but why me? So we have to get to a point where we really answer why not us? Why not? You know,
So here's the
yeah.
answer to the question, because our discussion is on why do white supremacists feel that they're superior. White supremacists believe they are superior to black people based on a complex interplay of historical, ideological, and psychological factors. Their beliefs are not supported by science or fact, but rather by discredited, and this stuff has already been discredited throughout history, doctrines, and a need, check this part out, a need to justify existing power structures. That's what white supremacists and white supremacy is all about. Is used to justify the existing power structure of where the riches, the resources, and the wealth is only delegated to 1% of the people in the world. In the United States,
I still can't understand how that happened. I mean, I know y'all
me
probably
neither.
looking at me like
Jordan.
this, and I mean, I'm just being totally transparent here. When I hear those things, nothing that was done was based on facts or proof, just based on somebody's dislike of someone because they were different, because there was a difference. And I mean, just to hear that right now, I'm trying to pull it together. It's like I'm trying to understand how in the world did that happen. And I mean, if it was not us, it to anybody, how could that happen? Based off of something that's not even factual, that's not even true. And it's just so disheartening to me. And this is a hard thing to talk about, even
Oh,
though
no.
we're openly talking about it. And we may get
Well,
some
we're
comments
gonna
of
talk about it
whatever.
because most people don't want to talk about it, and
Yeah,
that's been the
that's what I'm
problem
saying.
all along.
You don't want to talk about things like this happening, and people will say, "Well, I don't understand," because when now that I'm thinking about it, when you talk about stuff, people will be like, "Well, I don't understand what you mad about. It wasn't you that went through it. It's your ancestors. This. How do you think how do you think we're built? If not from what your ancestors went through, how do you think we're not traumatized by that? And how do you think some of the things that we go through has trickled down, throughout time to the different generations? Some of us don't suffer because that's what we doing. We suffer because that's the way it is. What do you call it? Not a family curse, but it's just your circumstance. And your circumstance starts from the beginning sometimes. So how do you not feel some type of way? How do you not be hurt? How do you not like
Well, you
speak about
should be, and we all should, and it doesn't mean that we need to go and become violent. What it means is that we should be proud. You should be proud to be where you are, despite adverse conditions and harsh circumstances, because through no fault of your own, we're in this condition. So if our ancestors worked hard, and we all know, man, I mean, I don't have to beat a dead horse, that land was stolen, resources were stolen, free labor was utilized, all of those different things that in today's society, we can't even imagine it. We can read it in a history book and we can kind of see that it did happen. But the further we get removed from it, the further it has an impact in our lives. But here are some historical and societal factors. The construction of race. Listen, for y'all who don't know, race was not a thing. Race was not always a thing. The idea of different human races and a hierarchy among them was created and cemented during the period of European colonization and the transatlantic slave trade. And it was used to justify and exploit black people. Race was not a thing. When you fill out an application, race is one of the most popular things that's on your application, right?
I be putting rainbow. I do. I'm serious. Like when I go fill out applications and stuff for whatever it is, and they be like, what's your race or whatever, I be putting rainbow. And a lady asked me one day, she was like, "Ma'am, do you realize what you wrote?" I say, "Yeah, rainbow." She said, "Well, but that's not a color." I say, I put rainbow. That's what I am.
Well,
I'm just saying, I hate that question.
yeah. But I mean, the reason I'm pointing it out is because there's a reason why it's on there. Because it's a construct that was used to justify a system of systemic racism. That's what it was. So scientific racism. This discredited the notion rooted in the 18th century, which sought to prove the biological superiority of white people and the inferiority of black people. It failed, and the pseudoscience were used to rationalize slavery, colonialism, and racist policies like Jim Crow in the United States and apartheid in South Africa.
That's put us in categories, and that's why that one time when we had that discussion about the census lady, and I told you I chased her out my driveway, and I meant don't never come back. This true story. Now the first year I did it because I thought it was something. I had never been a part of the census before, y'all, and I went on through it or whatever. Then I happened to think about it. I was reading. I happened to think about it. She came back the next year. I said, "Don't come up my driveway." "Well, Miss, why Miss Olney?" I said, "Don't you come up my driveway. Ain't nothing changed. I circled on that application. Don't come up here, because no, I'm not. I just told don't come up here." I said, "I'm asking you, that 5-step rule. Don't go, because I'm throw this Nerf ball at you. I got the Nerf ball first. You get 3 kind shots, and the other ones you get is gonna hurt." But I mean, people don't realize how, even though that's a funny story, and it's true, I can't make this up. I really did that. You don't realize how people keep us in categories and reinforce, systematic practices that hold us down, and privilege and all of these other things. But anyway, that just strike my nerve a little bit. That's all. Just strike my little nerve.
Okay. Hey, thanks for all the gifts that you all are receiving, are sending. So I appreciate it. We appreciate it. And we're going to get to your comments as soon as we can. But let's talk about this, the reinforcement of white power and privilege. White supremacists believes, favor, and defend existing systems where white people hold power and resources. And let me qualify it again. We're only talking about white supremacists. We aren't talking about white people or any other ethnic group who earn all of their belongings and their wealth. We're not talking about that segment of people. No one has a problem with people who are fair, genuine, and understand that we're all created equally. We're talking about the people that had a belief that you can put a man between a horse and split him and hang him from a tree cut off his genitals, put
Just
them
when
in
you
his
say
mouth.
that. Just
Huh?
just when you say that.
I know, I know, I know. And you should feel that way because those were some very horrendous acts of violence. And now you're the one that's considered violent now. How did that happen? There isn't a history of black people doing brutal things to white people. Nowhere in the history of the world, not only the United States, but there is a definite history of supremacists who did some notorious, inhumane, evil acts to black people. So they use the existing systems so that they can maintain and hold on to power and resources. These systems are the basis contributing to and perpetuating racial hierarchies. No intellectual superiority, no running faster or being stronger, no superior or natural beauty or ingenuity. Now, white nationalists, the ideology, for instance, argue for preferential treatment and access to resources for white people based on a fabricated and perceived genetic and cultural superiority. None of which is true. None of that is true. It is critical to note that the scientific consensus, as you were saying, the consensus, so sometimes I guess they're okay, Miss O'Neill.
No,
Not in
they
your case, as long as they don't come up your driveway, right?
no, they don't.
So there was a scientific consensus firmly rejects the concept of race as a biological construct and emphasizes that racism is a social construct with no basis in biological or genetic differences.
Thank you guys.
So that has been confirmed that there is no reason for the racism that exists. And there's no difference in genetic structure, intellectual, or anything else, any attribute that you can think of. But check this out. Even though white supremacists know that it has been scientifically debunked, white supremacists believe persists due to a combination of these interwoven factors and continue to pose a threat to society. So who benefits from a system created for these people?
Them people that created the system.
Amen.
Not
You
us.
hit
Not
the
us.
nail on the head, the nail dead on the head. The term white supremacy is often associated with extremist groups, right? That's why, as I said earlier, the first thing that people are going to think about is, someone riding down in Alabama and the outskirts of Georgia with rebel flags on their truck and gun racks and tattoos all over themselves. And they think those are the people that you should be concerned with. And they're not. It is also used in academic and sociological context to refer to a socio-political system where white people hold advantages and privilege over other races and ethnic groups. While white supremacy primarily benefit white people, it primarily is designed and it benefits white people. It also has negative consequences for them. Now, how can that be? You might ask, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that it's obvious that the benefits include an unearned advantage over black people. That's a negative consequence because you know that it was unearned. And for most people who have any godliness in them, I know that it must eat at their core to have that unearned advantage. Hey, check this out. Now, we all are going to, if we receive the blessing, whether or not it's from God or the devil, most of us are going to take it, right? So if we are in that situation.
I see you about to open up a can of worms because if somebody caught what you said, you're going to have us talking about that next. But I don't think nobody caught what you just said. But okay, we just going to go on.
Yeah, we gonna keep it moving. We throwing little jewels out.
Go on over there now. Go on.
And those who are aware, they're going to capitalize and they're going to know exactly what we're talking about. DeJoya, okay? And that's fine. You know what I mean?
Y'all see how he say my name when he be talking? DeJoya.
Oh my God. So there is a presumed higher social status. Now, any logical person knows you truly don't have a higher social status if you benefited and gained that status from unfair or systemic racism or unfair practices. It's no different than stealing and cheating. Now, as I said, the reason I said that, DeJoya, was because, if I steal something from somebody, if I hit them over the head, right? I still got that feeling within me. That doesn't go away. I can spend all the money, but I still know what I did. So that guilt and that shame still resides in me. And that's what I mean by that. So if you benefit unfairly, that has to be something that eats at your core every time you wake up. So, and lastly, freedom from certain burdens is what they have by creating these systems. White individuals do not experience the daily injustices and burdens associated with being a person of color in a racist society. I don't care how you form your mouth to say it, it's not the same. They do not experience what we all have to experience. Things such as racial profiling, being asked about where they from, where you from, are facing questions about their competence.
All I know, nobody better not ever ask me on the application no more, have I committed a felony? They better not ask me no more.
Why? Why they can't ask you that? You might be a murderer.
You know why?
You sound like you might do something to somebody. There's something else. You talking about black skillet pan?
I'm gonna tell him he did. So why you asking me? And he a president. Yeah, that I can't say certain things on TikTok now, but we gonna clear the racism out the way now, and we gonna clear the systematic wrongs out the way, cause I'm gonna be like, ask him.
So that's why you said they better not ask you if you're a felon. Huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, ask him.
All right. So for those who are interested, here are the negative consequences of white supremacy. First of all, they have a distorted perception of reality. White supremacy can foster a lack of understanding and awareness regarding racial inequality and the experiences of people with color. So even though you might feel that, okay, well, white supremacists don't give a rat's ass about that. As a human being, yes, you're gonna miss that experience. And that doesn't necessarily mean that all people will miss it, but in a general sense of the statement, it gives you a variety of experiences which are beautiful that they won't experience because of their racism and their beliefs. Also, the inhibition of true human connection. White supremacy may lead white people to disconnect from and devalue people of color, hindering the development of meaningful relationships and a broader understanding of what? Humanity. Because we're all from the same human family. And that's what's missing when they have that ideology that they are superior to other races. Now, there's also moral and ethical compromise. Participating in a system of white supremacy may require compromises that contradicts one's own sense of fairness and justice. So you think about this. When someone becomes a white supremacist, if they don't agree wholeheartedly, they have to compromise what they believe. Even though they believe some of the practices are unfair, if they become part of that group or that segment of people, they're going to have to compromise in order to be a member of that group.
Well, that's they compromise because I ain't compromising with nothing.
Well, yeah, they compromise, a lot of them, because you find as soon as something detrimental happens to them,
Then they change they change the rule. They change. You know, you can't. Yeah. I said I wasn't compromising. You know, I'm just saying. I was like that census lady better not come back. They better not ask me what color I am. I'm gonna say rainbow, and they better not ask me did I commit a felony no more. Now, okay, move on.
I'm gonna call the popo and have them stationed right at your house. I don't trust you. I don't know what to
Move on now.
Okay, and here's what experts say. Because of this treatment, most white people, white supremacists, fear the retribution of what is to come as a result of this unfair and this harsh treatment. Everyone knows nothing lasts forever. Everybody knows that. The world goes round and round, and even though it goes in the same circle of motion, it's always different. It's always different. There's a fraction of a second, a millimeter of a second that's slower, faster. The rotation may pivot just a little bit. So nothing lasts forever. It's almost like having a friend that you stole a watch from. Now you got away with the watch. They don't know that you got it. But every time you see that individual, that comes to the forefront of your mind, that you have their watch. Particularly, you got friends that'll steal from and still be your friend. So they
really ain't your friend.
Huh?
Then they really ain't your friend. You just don't know that.
Yeah, you just don't know that. But they will present themselves as being a friend. And they know that they got your watch. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's just a horrible way to live your life. When you got to look over your back, you've always got to have fear of retribution because of things that you've done. And, I think it's a lot easier when you have a reckoning within yourself to come to the realization, okay, that this was done in error, and now I know better.
You don't mean what had happened with us was done in error because they kept on doing it though. I mean, I'm just trying to say now. Come on back, Gertrude. Come on back, Buster. He ain't saying that, y'all. He ain't saying that now.
And not only that, in addition to that, most people have a spiritual belief of some sort. So that can be tormenting as well. If you've got any kind of spiritual or religious background or belief in anything, when you do things of that nature and it has become a part of their history, that's got to be tormented as well. So, as in the Bible, it says the first will be last and the last will be first. That's what it says. Now, so the main thing that the takeaway for everybody on this line, and we certainly appreciate all of you. I'm telling you, that chime been going off and I see the gifts, and so we certainly appreciate all of you, particularly the people who don't know about We Talk. But we
How
do
you be getting chimes and that? You know what? That's why I'm gonna get my own thing. I don't be getting no chimes. How you be getting chimes? Y'all, why y'all just be giving him the chimes? What's up with that?
you mad.
Yeah, I'm
Don't
a
be
little bit.
mad. Don't be mad.
I'm a
Don't
little
be
bit.
mad, Twan.
I'm a little bit perplexed. Nah, you know it all goes to all of us. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a little joker.
All right. All right. Hey, this has been good, and I hope that you all gain. So, in
Love y'all.
conclusion, you gain something. But so, in conclusion, there are no attributes or characteristics that proves the idea of white supremacy exists, and certainly there's nothing that shows that any race is more superior than others, particularly right wing groups. No evidence of it. Science has disproved it. Uh, Spirituality disproves it. Biblical principles disprove all of it. So, what is proven is a system of systematic racism that was created to maintain and keep the wealth and resources which were stolen from other people. Now, that's not to say that some people did not amass their own, but we're talking in general sense and from a historical perspective. That has happened time and time and again, and we all still feel effects of it. Now, you may believe that only black people who were wrong feel it. They may feel it more, but in the end, we all feel it. All right? And there's no evidence that exists to support that any people, particularly white people, are superior. It is an illusion. It is a construct that was created through a system to give a false sense of superiority. So the takeaway is that the system is what makes white supremacists feel that they're superior. An ideal system that was created just for them with the exclusion of other people. That system proves time and time again of being unfair and prejudicial. So if it's a prejudicial system, then we know that there has to be exclusion. All right?
I want to tell them something before we leave. It's something serious. I mean, aside from the census lady and all that, that was serious too. But
All
anyway,
right, go ahead.
I'm in the weeks coming. I'm gonna have class. So y'all, I'll be having to jump off early. Maybe I could talk Mr. Piano Fingers on that over there. And to coming on another time with me when I have to leave early, and we could just listen to him play, and y'all could listen to me and him talk and go back and forward. But yeah, so I believe the next 2 weeks I'll be having to be in class at 9, so I'll have to jump off. But if so, that don't mean I don't love y'all, and y'all won't be able to find me on here or Facebook from time to time. So it's gonna go on for about, I think, 8 to 10 weeks. So yeah.
Well, well, you can join us when you join us, and we're gonna keep it moving. You know how we do.
Okay, and
But
he be
anyway,
saying all that French stuff. So before he starts saying we, bye bye, CC and all that, I'm just gonna tell y'all love y'all and bye.
all right. We enjoyed all of you. And we hope to see y'all next Wednesday. We do this every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So, Avita Saint, au revoir, May, and we'll see you all later. Take care.